Here in the Western Cape is coming under fire for its amendment bill to sell alcohol in schools. The ANC says Education MEC Debbie Schafer's proposal is heavily misguided and dangerous. Well, the MEC joins us now live from our Cape Town studio. MEC, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. Now, many will struggle to understand what exactly you're doing here with this bill. Tell us what you are doing.
Thank you so much. There's a lot of misconception and misrepresentation about this bill. The provision that is being referred to is one of a number of provisions that we are putting forward to make some changes in education in the Western Cape. And it is not regarding the sale of alcohols at school. It's being portrayed by the ANC as if we're going to be selling alcohol every day from the tuck shop, for example, which is not at all the intention. There are two issues. First of all, the current legislation prohibits any kind of school activity where alcohol is consumed or used or sold, even if it includes adults, off school property. So, for example, a principal cannot take their staff for a year-end function off school premises, and it is classified according to the current legislation as a school activity. The second issue is that many schools, as we know, across the country, in fact, currently have alcohol on school premises, which is currently illegal. They have beer tents at school functions, they have cocktail parties, for example, for parents, and so on. And at the moment, that is all illegal. So first of all, I'd like to know what the ANC is doing about stopping that from happening at schools within their jurisdiction. But they're hypocritical as well, because there's recently been an advert brought to my attention for a Ward 6 Stellenbosch branch function of the ANC that's taking place at a school, and it's being advertised in the public media to say, bring your own XYZ. So if they say that we don't want alcohol at schools at all, then why are they doing that? So it really just highlights my point. What we're saying is alcohol remains illegal at schools. If, however, some schools would like to be able to have, not sell it as a venture to sell alcohol every day, but, for example, a wine auction at a school, that would constitute sale of alcohol. So that is what we're envisaging, to allow for schools that would like to do that, to apply to the head of department. The governing body has to make the application. So it would represent the interests of the parents, and if they wish to do it, they can ask for certain conditions to be put on that permission. The head of department can then consider that and either approve or not approve it, with also conditions imposed to ensure that it is properly regulated and that we do protect our children from any negative effects.
Now, many would argue that it's open to abuse and would encourage learners or pupils, if you like, to actually think it's okay to have alcohol and introduces them to alcohol from a very early stage. What about that?
I hear the points and I hear the concerns, but the fact of the matter is that many children are being introduced to alcohol off school premises, not on school premises. And I don't believe that that is the primary thing that is going to affect people. And we mustn't be unrealistic as to what is going on in our communities. High school children, I know, are drinking alcohol over weekends anyway. So we mustn't think that just because it's at a school, it's going to somehow not, stop them from drinking alcohol. I don't want to encourage in any way abuse of alcohol, but I just think we need to be realistic about the fact that schools already are across the country having events where alcohol is present, and that we can rather regulate it and allow them to do so within the law instead of actually breaking the law. That would be preferable.
But you're taking it closer to a place of learning, and that's the worrying part about how this legislation is going to work. I mean, you making it seem as if it's okay, even for a function, for alcohol to be served in a learning environment. That's the problem.
It's not a learning environment. It's a function outside the learning hours of the school, and it's for adults. So, I mean, as I say, it's happening anyway. So what is being done about stopping it from happening at schools now? It's currently illegal.
Some would say that this sounds like a rich people problems, MEC, because you have other issues with schools being overpopulated. You have issues of concern regarding infrastructure in the Western Cape, and that needs more address than alcohol being allowed on school premises.
Well, if alcohol is allowed, I mean, there's also the other scenario where people may wish to rent out their halls at school for events such as birthday parties in communities. And that can, in fact, assist the school in helping to get their infrastructure improved. it can assist schools in fundraising. And I mean, there are schools that have said that they do so. So I don't think it's fair to say it's a rich people's problem. And in any case, we represent all people. We don't represent rich or poor. So if it affects rich people, it's as important as if it affects poor people. So, but I know there are poor schools and poor communities who also would like to do this for fundraising purposes, not for any abuse purposes. And I don't think that they should be prevented from doing that if they do so responsibly. And if we can regulate that with suitable conditions, which if they are not adhered to, we can then revoke that permission. The legislation also proposes to take into account the provincial alcohol harms reduction policy as well as the alcohol legislation. So I don't believe that we're being irresponsible. I think we are trying to regulate something that is happening already, allowing schools that wish to do so in a more regulated environment that we will hopefully be able to police better.
Now, it flies in the face of your own research in the Western Cape, because 15% of boys and 8% of girls are said to have had their first drink by the age of 13. And some of this happens at school year-end functions. Also, the Western Cape government, a couple years ago, came up with a plan to try and stop alcohol abuse in school. Now, do you get the mixed message that could be sent, even though it's not happening during school hours? It's happening after school hours at an event for grown-ups. But there are mixed messages. You have campaigns saying to students, you should not be drinking and this is why. And then on the very same property where you're teaching those students those things, you're having alcohol.
No, it's not a mixed message, because we're saying alcohol can only be served or consumed by adults. So it's not a mixed message at all. We're saying to the learners, you mustn't drink alcohol. But the reality is the parents are doing so at home anyway.
Okay, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. MEC Debbie Schafer, the Western Cape Education MEC, speaking to us from our Cape Town studio.